Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for coming back to my house, guys.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an honor for us to be invited to your house.
Yeah, it's lovely house.
It's good foodie.
Really good food. The brother here, Abdurrahman, is a little bit of a poet. I say a little bit. You'll see why. But he wrote a poem on our topic, marriage. So you want to hit that off for the people?
Yeah, of course. So, actually, I'll start like this. There are three main values that we could only fully detect in an Islamic marriage, which is responsibility, love, and respect. And as we all know, Islam is about a way of life. Therefore, the Prophet, peace be upon him, also showed how a husband should treat his wife and how he should be sweet to her and her family, so that love, even though the up and downs, remains strong and grows rapidly. In fact, a happy home is found in Islam, not in a fiction or a spell like Al-Kazam. The Prophet, peace be upon him, even helped his wife in the housework. And it was said in a hadith, which even made some women in the West nowadays convert. Now, I was general and simple, but I hope viewers could reach progressively a detailed description of Islamic marriage through the Sheikh wise speech. Which is
This is very exciting.
That's
Okay,
very
I'll take that
nice.
back a little. He's maybe a better poet than I gave him credit for.
The problem is that he mentioned about the housework. No, my wife is going to pound me. What are you going to do about the housework?
That's coming later, inshallah. That'll be at someone else's house. I won't be here. But today we're going to talk more on marriage, because the brother, alhamdulillah, is still thinking about getting married. Nobody's scared of getting married. No one's scared him off yet with the realities of marriage. So I think a good place for us to start would be standing at the doorstep of trying to pick a spouse.
Exactly. Actually, most of the marriage problems, when we counsel marriage problems, we found that they were resulted due to the wrong choice from the beginning. People make the wrong choice, the wrong selection, based on what you just mentioned, fiction. Sometimes they're deceived with the beauty, with wealth. And accordingly, they make the wrong choice.
Yes.
They end up paying the price. As how many girls get married to boys or men just because they were rich or handsome, or they liked his car.
This is what we're facing now in
Yeah,
the world right now.
exactly.
Or his job, the way he ties his tie, the way he dresses his suit, and so on.
The way he
Besides,
puts gel on his hair.
yeah, besides that, they don't even try to discover his personality, his manners, his attitude, how he deals with others, and so
His
on.
religion.
Set aside religion, because, in many cases, unfortunately, even some of the Muslim societies, religion has become the farthest thing from the mind in respect of, choosing your life mate, choosing even a good candidate for your daughter, for your sister, or for a person who's under your guardianship.
Do you think it's right that, when a person wants to choose such a wife, mostly they look at their parents first, the wife's side's parents, look at the mother, how the mother grows, how fertile she is, how many children she has that give, and how she educate her, how she educate the families, and that will be...
Exactly right, because this is, actually, that should be one of the factors based on you make the choice, because, I personally keep saying that you don't only marry to the girl.
You marry to the family.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And who's going to be the uncles of your children?
Yes.
You're not going to cut her off and say, yeah, she's good, and the family are not. No. So it's very important to consider the entire package, the girl and the family. فإن العرق دساس. Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking to myself.
Well, we are now coming to the end of the zaman, where you find that some of the families that the child convert themselves into totally pious into their way of Islam, but their parents are not. Again,
That's actually true as well.
isn't that a word?
You see, for a person who's religiously committed, he adopts the Quran and the Sunnah as a way of his and her life. So they do not make any choice, but after they consider what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed them with putting guidelines as how to make that choice. When it comes to marriage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. In this magnificent ayah of Surah An-Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us saying that, and marry those amongst you who are single, males and females. وَالصَّالِحِينَ, and the pious ones of the male slaves and the female ones. Guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the most important qualification at as-salihin,
Righteous.
pious,
Pious.
and righteous.
Okay.
And he emphasized on the fact that sometimes righteousness contradicts with wealth, by the meaning, not necessarily every righteous person will be
Be free.
will be rich or financially capable. As a matter of fact, it is the opposite. So he says, إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء, if they be poor, Allah will enrich them out of His bounty. And Allah indeed is sufficient for all the needs, all aware of all the needs of His creatures. So there, the only factor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes on in this ayah, in selecting your life mate, is righteousness.
Piety.
And what people keep running after, which is wealth, luxury, money,
Dunya.
he says, no, it's not necessarily
Beauty.
Beauty also.
the most important factor. It could be actually a calamity. And he recommends for us, if a person is righteous, meanwhile he or she is poor, so what?
That reminds me.
Allah is the one who gives wealth and tests others with poverty. إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء, if they be poor, Allah will enrich them out of His bounty.
That reminds me of a hadith with the fathers should be more into giving their daughters to men who are pious in their religion than to, I need a doctor from Hyperbad who is from this, you know what I'm saying?
You must be reading the Horizon magazine.
Well, anyway, I think Abdurrahman here is searching for Khadija.
Khadija, Aisha, yeah. Khadija, Aisha. No.
The Prophet ﷺ married Zayd ibn Haritha, and he was a slave. To his cousin, Zaynab bint Jahsh, and she's from a very honorable family, the family of the Prophet ﷺ. Not only that, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, may Allah be pleased with him, and he was one of the richest companions, Abdurrahman ibn Auf. He married his sister to whom? To Bilal ibn Rabah. To Bilal ibn Rabah,
The freed slave.
the black freed Abyssinian slave. And so forth. There are so many examples, just beyond count. But when people have the concept of the religious commitment as a priority, they make the right
We
choice.
got Umar ibn Khattab and the milkmaid.
The Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَّن تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَأَمَانَتَهُ فَزَوْجُوهُ. If one approaches you in respect of marrying to your girls, whom you trust his religion and honesty, then marry him to your girl. And if you don't, there is a threat. There will be a corruption and mischief, and that will be spread all over the earth.
Wow. Where we're
And I
living.
guess that's happening.
Exactly.
Well, the world right now is facing, like, if you say that the Abdurrahman the Auf give it to Bilal and he's a dog. Over here, if you show that, it says, oh, why am I have to marry a black guy? I'm white. Things like that is happening.
It's,
You know,
Like-
when Bilal ibn Rabah, may Allah be pleased with him, on the day when the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims conquered Mecca, Bilal ibn Rabah climbed on the back of the Kaaba and he was calling adhan.
Yeah.
Some people who still,
Jahil.
were not true Muslims said,
We're not
of the
strong enough.
Meccans especially, said, what is black Abyssinian slave?
Yeah.
Get on top of the Kaaba. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the beautiful ayah of Surah Al-Hujurat. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. O mankind, we have created you from
Clay, teen.
a male and a female, Adam and Eve. Then we made you into nations and tribes. Why? So that you may get to know one another.
One another.
Indeed, the most noble one of you
It's the-
is the most pious one.
The only difference. That reminds me of my good friend Bilal Abdul Kareem, who that's his favorite ayah of the Quran, because all the race issues we have in the States with this and that and that. He said when he heard that, he knew that it had to be from the Lord of creation, because it said the only thing that I care about is your piety.
Yes.
So the only thing we should care about when we look for our husbands, for our daughters, our wives, for ourselves,
Allah will
is
not
their
see on our
piety.
skin.
And
They're not seeing on our skin, they're seeing our heart.
I see Abdurrahman is very concerned. He's about to make a very, very important decision.
Well, he's still both on the pot side. We've
But
been,
I'm glad you're considering that before making the choice,
I mean, I believe that like beauty, whatever there is materialistic, beauty for a woman or money for a man or a woman, and all these kind of stuff, they don't last. Therefore, when you choose based on Islam, it's based on Allah. So it's based on something that lasts forever,
Something that can never die.
for generations. So that's why I think it's really important to choose on that kind of values, Islamic values, and not materialistic or illusionary
Aren't there
values.
four reasons to marry a woman?
Exactly. Abdurrahman, it's
Yes.
very, very important to know that we're not ignoring the other factors, whether beauty, lineage, family position, wealth. No. As a matter of fact, the Prophet ﷺ says in the sound hadith, a woman may be married for one of four reasons.
beauty is one of it.
Yeah.
For her
Beauty,
wealth,
yeah.
for her lineage,
Lineage,
for her beauty,
And for
and for her deen.
a deen.
And then he emphasized on the importance of selecting the one
has deen.
who
Has
has
deen.
a religious commitment.
Yeah.
And we'll meet you again.
Yeah, we're gonna go get some. I'm gonna go get some coffee. So I'll be right back.
Ask Huda.
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of Ask Huda.
I have two questions.
Please go ahead. You can read it in Arabic, and you can also understand the meaning in your own language. The different tafsir and the interpretation of the meanings of the Quran available in almost every language that exists on earth by the grace of Allah. The water of Zamzam is for whatever intention you drink it with. Salih from Egypt, his father has the way, and he asked about how can he help him. Very good question.
Can we give a zakat to any of the dawah centers?
The ibadah or the act of worship is a part of the unity of worship. It has to be paid to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in accordance with the guidance of His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Well, Sheikh, just now you talk about the hadith that you choose your wife through all the things except the religious. what you mean by religious commitment? Is it
Not except
deen?
the religion
Yeah.
or religious commitment. No. He said, peace be upon him, that there are 4 qualities which a person might be interested in, in his life mate, in his future wife.
He said you discussed them all except the
Oh.
last one.
That's the last one. Religious is that, or what religious you mean commitment? I mean the deen, wise. The
Being
first-
religiously committed, fulfilling at least the mandatory acts which Allah imposed upon us as believers.
The 5,
The 5 daily prayers,
the Psalm,
fasting, and
Hajj, Zakat.
of course, very apparent thing for women especially, which is wearing the proper dress code, which is hijab,
Aywa,
right?
aywa.
So seeing that in the girl and in her family, that's a sign that she's religiously committed.
Sometimes you
Knowing
see
that she attends dars, lectures where she learns Quran, and she acquires religious knowledge and so on. The company and whom she hangs around and so on, these are all signs where you can really detect whether she's religiously committed or not.
Sometimes you see a Niqabi sister rolling with a, what I call a loose head sister. You know, she doesn't have, she doesn't have anything on her head, or just her hair flowing everywhere. So sometimes you see that, and it's like a strange contrast to see that walking down the street together.
And also, it's not only that you're interested in those qualities in a girl or your future wife. On the other hand, that the wali, the guardian of the girl, should be very alert and aware of, the qualities of the person who's pursuing his girl. Once the Prophet ﷺ was sitting and a man passed by. So the Prophet ﷺ asked his companions, what do you think of this man? They said, هذا حري إن خطب ألا ينكح. Such a person, if he pursues any girl in marriage, nobody would give him his daughter. And if he would ever intercede, nobody would accept his intercession. So the Prophet ﷺ kept quiet, no comment. After a little while, somebody else passed by. So the Prophet ﷺ asked them the same question concerning this little man, saying that, what do you think of this man? He said, هذا حري إن خطب أن ينكح. He's such a person that if he would pursue any girl in marriage, her family would love to give him the girl. And if he would ever intercede, people would accept his intercession with pleasure. So the Prophet ﷺ made a very important comment saying that the first one, the earlier one, is better than the fullness of earth of the later one.
Meaning,
That's a big difference.
Meaning,
yes.
before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first one, whom people considered insignificant, they wouldn't even accept his intercession. They wouldn't consider giving him their daughter. So before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's much more superior. And he's better than the fullness of earth of people like the later one.
So if every man on the earth was like that guy, the second one,
Yeah.
this guy's better.
So don't be superficial. But, if you're looking for a life partner for your daughter, for a girl who's under your guardianship, you have really to investigate and find out if this person is ameen, trustworthy, honest, and religiously committed or not. If a person prays the regular prayers in the masjid, he's a person who's a good candidate. If a person treats his parents kindly, with respect, then he's a good candidate, and so on.
So if we have already seen all this, the attributes that this girl has, for example, if it's Abdurrahman's interested, what he would do for the next step, where he wants to go to meet the parents first before he could resemble seeing the girls, things like that.
Oh, you're talking about engagement.
No,
Congratulations, you already made up your mind.
I want to ask one
No,
question real fast.
Sure.
Is there a point where you become too picky, on these 4 things? Like the religion thing is nice, but is there a point where you say, well, if she's not praying 10 juzah of Quran at night, then I'm not going to marry her? Or if she's not, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, then I'm not going to marry her? Is there a point where you become too picky?
Well, yeah, Ismail. Number one, no one is perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not
What?
perfect. No one is perfect. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So trying to find somebody who has the four qualities and in the most perfect manner, you're going to wait forever. You're not going to get married.
You will never get married. No.
You know?
You'll be fasting all the time.
So you have to compromise, but
Very
never compromise on the account of the religious commitment. That is the thing which lasts. Earlier, Abdul Rahman was sharing with me a story of a person who lives in Canada. If you wish to share it with the brothers.
Actually, to add at the point that when someone like chooses according to only materialistic, non-lasting values, it goes in the end and it doesn't succeed. And I had an example in Canada. There was this guy who had even fame in the neighborhood. He was a bodybuilder. He looked good. He had a wonderful, beautiful wife, and he had a motorbike. So one day he did an accident, and he became like
Paraplegic or whatnot.
yeah, and of course he got really injured, and it affected on his beauty. He became someone else. From that moment, his wife left him. So basically, there was no love. All what they say, Romeo and Juliet and those fairy tales, this is not love. True love is seen and described by Islam.
Well, it's sad to hear that, Ya Abdul Rahman, but unfortunately it is true. This is a natural result of marrying just for materialistic reasons. In English they say that a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Exactly,
What about
exactly.
a wife that abandons her husband, or a husband who abandons his wife because of, the reason which they got married for is gone.
Exactly.
So the thing which is most likely to last as long as they're alive, which is the religious commitment,
Yeah.
helping each other to be righteous, couple.
Slaves to Allah.
Exactly. That lasts, but beauty does not. Wealth does not.
Well, beauty fades, believe me. I looked at myself in the mirror today and I said, what happened to you?
And like we said, it's also a mixture. Like the most important thing is religion, but we don't mind the other things, depending on
It's
the
not only we
preferences.
don't mind, it's
It's
tremendous.
kind of, yeah.
If you could find a pretty religious girl, you could give her
that would
this
be
number.
If the
Nah,
Prophet
praise the
sallallahu
Lord.
alaihi wasallam says that whenever you make up your mind and you're ready to get married and you decide about a girl, انظر إليها, look at her. That's most likely to make you live a happy life afterward.
to get along.
Because you
In
get
a
along and you're
long-term
convinced.
relationship.
You're convinced. Versus a person who describes for you or give you a picture or a photo, then you make up your mind based on
Like an
something
internet-
different than the reality.
Like an internet marriage.
Well,
Yeah,
psychologically is that it helps you too, because if you have a nice wife, nice face, things like that, when you come back home stressed up, they're the only people who really calms you down, motivate you, and they are your personal partner that motivate you for your goals, for every goals that you want to go in the hereafter, and also in this world.
Talking about looking at so on, we should really keep in mind that there are etiquettes of looking, because others might imagine that it's okay to date a girl and to go out with her, and especially if we live in the West.
I didn't do anything. I was just
culturally
looking.
approved. It was just an innocent meeting. We just had
It's
coffee
like
or
a
ice
us-
cream. No.
It's like a car shopping.
Any meeting of those kind of gatherings has to be in the presence of the mahram of the girl, in her family, with
Not
at
behind the
home.
curtain.
Otherwise, just taking her in private and going out and driving her away from home and so on. This is all known as اختلاط, mixing up men and women together, which is prohibited.
It's happening
without
now.
a mahram.
It's happening now.
It's happening in
No.
the East,
Yes.
also in the Middle East.
No.
Yeah, I was at McDonald's the other day and it was full of I call them Habibis.
Oh.
Just my
La
beloved,
hawla wa la
my
quwwata
beloved,
illa
just,
billah. La there is an Arabic statement which says, Al-mamluk mamlul. Once you have it in hand, you feel bored of it, by the meaning, when a person dates a girl and they go out, his excuse and her excuse that we're studying each other will become like, in the Western societies, they live together.
Yeah.
I might have told you this story before, Ismail, that that man, after 8 years and 4 kids, they finally decided to get married because they got to know each other. 8 years.
busted.
This is how much it took them.
There's 8 years, 4 kids, 2 mortgages, and they had a car payment, and we decided we loved each other
8
enough
years
to get married.
in adultery. you know. So in Islam, it's all about modesty. So let's say that and assume it didn't work out. Nothing have happened. That you came and visited an innocent visit. You did not even get to touch her.
All you had was some tea.
Exactly. Even after you have already engaged her officially, you still do not get the chance or the right to shake hands with her and to touch her or sit with her in private.
What can you look at?
Well,
What is acceptable to look at? I'm not saying you go and you do, hey, baby, hey, but what is acceptable, like when you're with her father and her mother and you, what is
what
acceptable
almost
for you to
all
look
the
at?
ulama agree to is the hands and the face. And the face especially expresses about the beauty of the girl. And of course it will tell you about the complexion and
In the
color.
presence of their parents.
Yeah. No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Outside in a way or another that you can, seize an opportunity to look at her.
So it's not haram to follow.
No, but only, like, Muhammad ibn Maslamah, may Allah be pleased with him, once was hiding in one of the gardens to look at a girl. So somebody said to him that you do that while you are the companion of the Prophet ﷺ? It's like shame on you. He said, why not? Since I've heard the Prophet ﷺ is saying that if one have already made up his mind, and this is a very important condition, okay? You made your choice. You just need to confirm that's the right choice by examining the beauty of the girl, okay? Without approaching her family and making an official meeting and so on. You can look at her face. So the Prophet ﷺ said, look at her if you have already made up your mind. And when one of the companions got married, without looking, he said, did you look at her? He said, no. He said, no, go back and look at her.
Yeah. You got to make sure what you get into.
So that keeps balance between the importance of, keeps balance between the fact that beauty is a considered factor.
Exactly.
And the importance of giving a priority to the religious commitment.
Yeah, what about men who wants to know more details about the woman that he wants to marry?
Well, actually, he could do two things. He could have his mom or his sister go have tea with her and her family, and then he could find out more about her.
You mean high tea, like?
Yeah, go over there, have a cup of coffee, and bring a sandwich for her, some cake, and then they see everything about her.
Do his father has to have be present?
Well, any mahram.
Yeah.
If the person is present with the girl, there has to be a mahram.
But if his mom goes over there, that's a woman and a
Fine,
woman.
he doesn't need a mahram.
No.
And the Prophet ﷺ also added to us some other qualities which are very, very important in selecting your life mate, which is, he said, تَزَوَّجُ الْوَلُودَ الْوَدُودَ. Marry one who is able to bear children and give birth, and loving and caring. And I understand that you're going to ask, and how do you know that? That, inshallah, will answer next time.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Let's go eat.
السلام عليكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.